This year sees new UCI rules on bike setup which are intended to reduce peloton speeds and make riders safer. But the new rules aren't overly popular, so seeing as I went to the opening spring race Omloop Het Nieuwsblad, I thought that I'd ask the pros 2 questions. Firstly, have the UCI rules changed your bike setup? And do the new rules make you feel safer? Before we hear what they had to say, I think it's worth reminding ourselves of the main changes. Bars at their widest point can now measure no less than 400 millimeters, which is up from last year's 350 millimeter minimum. The minimum distance between your hoods is now 280 millimeters, though the UCI had planned to limit this to 350 millimeters, which basically angered everyone. Wheels can be no deeper than 65 millimeters. Helmets are now traditional or time trial, and the latter are banned in road races. I won't lie, kind of with them on this one. And finally, we were going to get some gear restriction rules preventing anyone from fitting more than a 5311. But that angered SRAM, and that's tied up in a bit of a legal battle right now.
How has the UCI rule changes over the winter impacted your position, if at all?
Mine, it didn't.
I wasn't running anything outrageous anyway. I got a pretty standard setup, so I haven't had anything that's changed that. And I mean, my opinion, to be honest, is it's the riders that make it dangerous. I don't think, if you put us in, 200 guys going into a left-hand corner that's important, the maths doesn't work, and at some point we're all here trying to do our best job, and when everyone's trying to go for the same thing, it's just there's always going to be crashes and danger. Yes, I do agree there's ways to make it safer and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, I think it comes down to us as riders to look out for each other, and there's a difference between racing hard and making really stupid and dangerous decisions. So
I got quite lucky that they did adjust the bar rules, so I could keep the same with the bar, but I just have to adjust my shifters. It's amazing how much a few millimeters of straightening up your shifters could make a difference to back pain and shoulder pain. But we're working with it, we're moving with it, we're flexible, and we're here to race.
I don't feel impacted. We've managed to maintain everything almost the same from last year, so for me, no.
These were intended to be changes for safety. Do you think it will make a difference to the safety in the peloton?
Probably not as much as for the men, as for the women. But yeah, they need to draw a line somewhere. So I understand they made those decisions, but it's a bit based on the men's peloton and not the women's peloton. So I don't know.
No, not with me anyway. I mean, it's just a tax on smaller riders, isn't it, really? I think I don't think it's been very well considered, being completely honest, and I think there's still this idea that they need to do something about the riders when actually you kind of need some things in place in terms of organisation, which I appreciate is difficult because it's hard to get races on, and we're racing in a live situation where the roads aren't built for our races, but I suppose it's just about there's a few things they could do, like today, for example, we have this finishing circuit, and this is always a good way of, I think, finishing a race. At least there's the conversation happening, and hopefully it'll get better.
Oh, for me, I have always been riding a 3840, so I fit inside the regulations, but that's not the same for all my teammates.
So have some of them had to change their positions over the winter?
Yeah, definitely.
Do you think it's going to make a difference to safety?
I mean, hopefully that's always the aim, but these things are always difficult to measure, to quantify. But I mean, every little helps. So if you have the hope in your mind that it can, then I think it can a little bit.
Is that, I can maybe tell by your face your answer to this, but do you think that's a practical solution?
No, there's so many more things that can make the peloton safer. And at the Cyclists Alliance, we've also been talking about how do we make it safer. And a lot of it has to do with the course. Let's make sure that in the finish, where we know things are going to be fast, it's a clear entry. The barriers are correct. They're solid. There's not turns in the last 200. Or the road furniture, the road's got to be smooth. that sort of stuff is more impactful than a handlebar.
Yeah, I think it's just keeping an ongoing conversation between rider and UCI and keeping a good relationship. I think we're the people on the ground and we're constantly the people in the race and understanding the race. And I think between race organisers, riders and the UCI, there needs to just be a good relationship in order to make good and safe race courses and make sure that they listen to our feedback and keep developing instead of staying in the same spot, really.
Maybe a bit, but I'm not sure if that's the best rules to make the peloton safer. But
And if you could make one practical change for safety, what would you do?
For me, I think just assessing the courses more. I think sometimes we're riding on roads that are really just not suitable or not well marked, not enough marshals to point out potholes or objects in the road. I think for me, that's the main causes of crashes, to be honest. So that would be what I would say.
I would actually have better helmets. Like, I am so surprised we still race with like the little tiny helmets, and we're going down the hill with 100k an hour.
Full face and leather, like motorbike riders, maybe too much.
It is maybe too much, but I wouldn't actually mind if everyone does it.
Yeah.
Like, I broke my jaw like 1.5 years ago, and I wish I had a better helmet at that point. But yeah, it's just something you need to like get used to, probably.
I think being on a circuit would be better in a number of ways, not just from a safety perspective. I think it's really good to bring more fans to the race, and particularly fans who are on the periphery of cycling and maybe just got into it recently and find it a little bit hard to follow a race. If I think about a lot of my friends, for example, and them coming along to Roubaix, it's a big logistical task for a fan to come and watch a race like Roubaix, where you're sector hopping and doing things like this. Whereas if you know it's going to finish, or we're going to be on a circuit for, I don't know, half hour, an hour of the race, and there's like a bit of an atmosphere there, then you can start to capitalise on that kind of stadium atmosphere you get in a lot of sports. Yeah.
Well, I think we got a mixed response there, which is really probably reflective of the complexity surrounding this debate and how different people see the situation. From my point of view, for what it's worth, the equipment rule changes are a bit of a distraction. Firstly, courses, especially finishes, need to simply follow the UCI's own current rules. The Giro di Sardegna a few weeks ago, for example, that had a bunch finish with a 90-degree left-hander 50 meters from the finish line. How did that pass a course inspection? But also, like a lot of the riders said, the peloton decides how it races. So hopefully we see more examples of the peloton simply policing itself. Thank you to the riders that stopped for a chat. It's always great to hear what the pros have to say, and we are very appreciative of their time, especially on a cold day before a big race. If you like your tech, then why not check out our video of the hottest tech from Omloop. SRAM are sponsoring more teams now, so there's loads of one buy on display. Some seriously big chain rings. It's genuinely scary. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time.